Alex had always been an outspoken advocate for women's rights. As a college freshman, she was no stranger to controversy. Her passionate speeches and social media posts often sparked heated debates on campus. But nothing could have prepared her for the shocking incident that would change her life forever. It started on a typical Friday night, when Alex's younger sister, Maddie, had gone out with friends to a party at the Sigma Pi frat house. The house was notorious for its sexist and aggressive behavior, and Alex had warned Maddie to steer clear of it. But Maddie had been determined to prove to her that the frat boys were not all bad. As the night wore on, Maddie found herself getting drunk and feeling increasingly uncomfortable. She tried to leave, but the frat boys had other plans. They had been drinking heavily and had become convinced that Maddie was up for grabs. In a haze of alcohol and hormones, Maddie was assaulted by one of the frat members. The next morning, Maddie stumbled into their family home, shaken and crying. She was too traumatized to talk about what had happened, but Alex could see the pain and fear in her eyes. As she held her sister close, Alex felt a surge of anger and helplessness. How could this happen in their own community? How could the frat boys think they were above the law? Maddie's words to Alex would haunt her forever. I felt like I was nothing more than a prize to be won. I felt like I was less than human. And when it was over, and I was lying on the floor, I knew that I had to get out of there as fast as I could. I couldn't let them see me cry. I couldn't let them see me broken. As Alex listened to her sister's words, she felt a fire ignite within her. She knew that she had to take action, to make sure that no other woman would have to go through what Maddie had endured. And so, Alex began to plan her campaign against the sexist frat boys, a campaign that would take her to the very top of the college hierarchy and beyond. But as she looked at her sister, Alex saw a spark of determination in her eyes. Maddie had been through hell, but she was not broken. She was angry, and she was ready to fight back. I want to make them pay, Maddie said, her voice barely above a whisper. I want to make them regret what they did to me. Alex nodded in agreement. We will, she said. We will make them pay. And we will make sure that no other woman is ever treated like you were treated that night. As they hugged, Alex felt a sense of purpose wash over her. She knew that this was just the beginning of a long and difficult journey, but she was ready. She was ready to take on the frat boys, to take on the college administration, and to take on the system that had allowed this to happen. And so, with her sister by her side, Alex began to plan her revolution. She would not rest until the sexist frat boys were brought to justice, and until the college community was safe for women to live and thrive. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, Alex's campaign gained momentum. She rallied her friends, her classmates, and her community, and together they demanded change. They demanded that the college take action against the frat boys, that they expel them and hold them accountable for their actions. But the college administration was slow to respond. They seemed more concerned with protecting the frat boys' reputation than with protecting the students who had been hurt. And so, Alex and her team took matters into their own hands. They organized protests, they created social media campaigns, and they spoke out against the college's inaction. The backlash was fierce. The frat boys and their supporters accused Alex and her team of being whiny and overreacting. They claimed that the incident had been just a joke and that Alex was overstepping her bounds. But Alex knew that she was fighting for something bigger than herself. She was fighting for justice, for equality, and for the right of women to be safe and respected on campus. As the controversy raged on, Alex found herself at the center of a media storm. She was interviewed by local newspapers, she appeared on TV news programs, and she was featured in national publications. But she never lost sight of what she was fighting for. She never lost sight of her sister, who had been hurt in the worst possible way. And so, Alex continued to speak out, to rally her community, and to demand change. She knew that it wouldn't be easy, that it wouldn't be quick, but she was determined to see it through. She was determined to make sure that no other woman would have to go through what Maddie had endured. The incident that started it all had been a wake-up call for Alex. It had shown her the dark underbelly of college life, the way that women were treated as objects and not as people. But it had also given her a purpose, a reason to fight for what was right. And as she looked out at the sea of faces in front of her, Alex knew that she was not alone. She had her sister, she had her friends, and she had a community that was ready to join her in the fight for justice. The question on everyone's mind was, what's next? How would Alex and her team take on the college administration, and how would they bring the frat boys to justice? The answer, as always, was uncertain. But one thing was clear, Alex was not going to back down. She was not going to let the system silence her. She was going to keep fighting, no matter what it took. And so, the revolution began. A revolution that would take Alex and her team to the very top of the college hierarchy, a revolution that would change the face of their community forever. The frat house culture deep within the heart of the college campus, there stood an imposing, three-story structure known as Sigma Pi fraternity. Its grandeur and exclusivity had become the stuff of legend, with many regarding it as the pinnacle of masculine achievement. However, this revered institution harbored a dark secret, one that only a select few dared to whisper about in hushed tones. Behind closed doors, Sigma Pi's brothers engaged in a culture of sexism and misogyny that bordered on the sinister. It was a world where women were objectified, degraded, and ridiculed, often under the guise of harmless, hazing rituals. These were the men who believed they were above the law, above empathy, and above accountability. They were the masters of their domain, and their word was gospel. Their notorious reputation had been building for years, with countless stories of debauchery and disrespect circulating through social media and campus gossip. But it was more than just a series of isolated incidents, it was a systemic problem that had been allowed to fester, unchecked and unchallenged. At the heart of this toxic culture was a fraternity brother named Jake. He was one of the more charismatic and well-respected members of Sigma Pi, known for his charm and good looks. However, this facade hid a more insidious truth. Jake was a product of the very same system that had created him. He had been conditioned to believe that his masculinity was defined by his ability to belittle and objectify others. When Alex first confronted Jake about the fraternity's treatment of women, he dismissed her concerns with a smirk and a wink. "It's just a joke, Alex," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "You're being too sensitive. We're not hurting anyone." But Alex knew better. She had seen the devastating impact that Sigma Pi's actions had on the women in her community, and she was determined to expose the truth. As she delved deeper into the world of Sigma Pi, Alex discovered a complex web of relationships and alliances that kept the fraternity's culture alive. There were the brothers who actively participated in the hazing and objectification, the enablers who turned a blind eye to the behavior, and the victims who suffered in silence, afraid to speak out. But Alex refused to back down. She knew that she had a responsibility to speak out against this injustice, to use her voice to amplify the stories of those who had been silenced. And so, she continued to push forward, determined to bring Sigma Pi's culture to light and expose the truth about the harm it inflicted on women. As she navigated the treacherous landscape of the fraternity, Alex encountered a cast of characters who would change the course of her life forever. There was Emily, the freshman who had been subjected to a brutal hazing ritual and was now struggling to come to terms with the trauma she had endured. There was Matt, the brother who was secretly questioning the fraternity's culture and was afraid to speak out for fear of being ostracized. And there was Rachel, the campus activist who had been fighting against Sigma Pi for years and had become a thorn in the fraternity's side. Together, these individuals formed a coalition of allies who were determined to bring about change. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, they would face resistance, backlash, and even violence. But they were driven by a shared sense of purpose and a deep commitment to justice. As Alex continued to investigate Sigma Pi, she began to uncover a pattern of behavior that went far beyond the fraternity itself. She discovered that the culture of sexism and misogyny was not unique to Sigma Pi, it was a widespread problem that permeated the very fabric of the college community. It was a problem that had been allowed to fester for far too long, and it was a problem that would take a tremendous amount of courage and determination to solve. But Alex was undaunted. She was driven by a fierce conviction that she was fighting for something greater than herself. And so, she pressed on, her voice growing louder and her message more clear. She knew that she was taking a risk. She could lose friends, alienate allies, and even put herself in harm's way. But she also knew that she had a responsibility to speak out, to use her voice to challenge the status quo and bring about change. As the stakes grew higher, Alex found herself at a crossroads. She could continue to push forward, risking everything for the sake of justice. Or she could retreat, playing it safe and allowing the status quo to remain intact. But Alex knew that she couldn't turn back now. She had come too far, and she had seen too much. She was driven by a sense of purpose and a deep commitment to the cause. And so, she steeled herself for the challenges ahead, knowing that the road to justice would be long and arduous. But she also knew that she was not alone. She had a community of allies who were standing with her, and she had a message that was resonating with people all over the country. Together, they were creating a movement that would challenge the culture of sexism and misogyny and bring about a new era of justice and equality. As she stood at the threshold of this new chapter, Alex knew that she was about to face her greatest challenge yet. But she was ready to take on the fraternity, to take on the system, and to take on the status quo. She was ready to fight for justice, and she was ready to win. Alex's investigation begins as the days turned into weeks. Alex became increasingly consumed by the desire for justice. Her sister had been a victim of the Sigma Pi fraternity's blatant sexism, and Alex was determined to bring the perpetrators to their knees. She spent every waking moment researching, planning, and gathering evidence, fueled by a fierce determination to expose the frat house's wrongdoing. The campus was abuzz with the news of Alex's investigation, with many students whispering about the freshman's audacity. Some saw her as a hero, while others viewed her as a troublemaker. But Alex didn't care. She was too busy digging into the depths of the frat house's dark past. She started by conducting interviews with other survivors, women who had been victimized by the same fraternity. Their stories were heartbreaking, each one a testament to the systemic sexism that had been allowed to flourish on campus. Alex listened intently, her ears ringing with the sound of their anger and frustration. As she dug deeper, Alex discovered a treasure trove of resources on campus. She spoke with professors, advisors, and even the college's own Title IX office. Everyone seemed to have a piece of the puzzle, and Alex was determined to put it all together. But it wasn't until she stumbled upon the frat house's secret social media activity that the investigation really took off. Alex had been monitoring the fraternity's online presence, looking for any hints of wrongdoing. And then, she saw it, a private Instagram account, locked behind a password-protected firewall. The account was filled with racist jokes, sexist memes, and graphic images that made Alex's blood run cold. She couldn't believe it. The Sigma Pi fraternity, an institution that prided itself on masculinity and brotherhood, was secretly peddling the same kind of hate speech that had fueled her sister's assault. Alex felt a surge of anger and disgust, but she knew she had to keep her cool. This was just the tip of the iceberg, and she needed to gather more evidence before she could take on the frat house. Alex's heart was racing as she continued to scroll through the private account. She saw photos of frat brothers in blackface, making obscene gestures at women who had rejected their advances. She saw messages from alumni, bragging about their conquests and mocking the women who had tried to stand up to them. It was like a time bomb had been ticking in the shadows, waiting to go off. And then, just as Alex thought she had seen it all, she stumbled upon a shocking revelation. The private Instagram account was just one small part of a much larger operation, a network of secret social media groups and chat rooms where frat brothers could share their darkest thoughts and desires. Alex's mind was reeling as she tried to process the implications. This was no isolated incident, it was a coordinated effort to create a culture of hatred and entitlement. As she delved deeper into the investigation, Alex knew she was taking a risk. The Sigma Pi fraternity was powerful, and they would stop at nothing to silence her. But she was not afraid. She had a mission, and she was determined to see it through to the end. Little did she know, the frat house had just received a warning shot across the bow. The storm was coming, and Alex was ready to lead the charge. This investigation was far from over. In fact, it was just getting started. And as Alex dug deeper, she knew she would uncover secrets that would shake the very foundations of the college. But she was not alone. There were others out there, women who had been victimized by the same fraternity and were now fighting back. Together, they would bring the frat house to its knees and create a movement that would change the campus forever. But for now, Alex had a decision to make. Should she expose the fraternity's wrongdoing to the world, risking her own safety and reputation in the process? Or should she keep digging, gathering more evidence and building a case that would be impossible to ignore? The choice was hers, but one thing was certain, the fate of the Sigma Pi fraternity hung in the balance, and Alex was ready to take the first step towards justice. As the darkness gathered outside, Alex sat in her room, her heart pounding with anticipation. She knew what she had to do. She took a deep breath and began to type out a message on her phone. It was a message that would change everything, a message that would set the wheels of justice in motion. And as she hit send, Alex felt a sense of determination wash over her. She was ready to take on the Sigma Pi fraternity, and she would not back down. The question on everyone's mind was, what would happen next? Would the frat house try to silence Alex, or would they try to cover their tracks? And what about the other women who had been victimized by the fraternity? Would they join forces with Alex, or would they choose to remain silent? The answers to these questions would soon become clear, but one thing was certain, the storm was coming, and Alex was ready to ride it out. The social media scandal deep within the heart of the college campus, a secret world was brewing, hidden from the prying eyes of the administration and the outside world. The Sigma Pi fraternity, with its grandeur and exclusivity, seemed like the epitome of masculinity, but behind closed doors, its members were spewing hate and disrespect towards women. As Alex dug deeper into the fraternity's inner workings, she stumbled upon a treasure trove of incriminating evidence, social media posts and messages that revealed the true attitudes of the frat brothers towards women. The posts were riddled with objectifying comments, sexist jokes, and even explicit threats against female students who dared to cross them. One particular post caught Alex's attention, a screenshot of a private Facebook group where the frat brothers were discussing their plans to take down a female student who had spoken out against them. The language used was vile and degrading, and the level of entitlement was staggering. Alex knew she had to share this evidence with the world. With the help of a few fellow activists, Alex created a series of flyers and posters that exposed the frat house's social media scandal. They plastered the campus with the evidence, making sure that every student knew about the fraternity's true nature. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Students from all walks of life began to mobilize, demanding action from the administration and the fraternity itself. A student-led protest was organized, with chants of a shame on Sigma Pi and respect women echoing through the campus. Alex took to the stage, her voice shaking with emotion as she shared her own story of trauma and resilience. The crowd was galvanized, and soon, hundreds of students were marching towards the fraternity house, demanding justice. But not everyone was pleased with the sudden turn of events. The frat house's president, a towering figure with a smug smile, had been watching the chaos unfold from the sidelines. He was determined to silence Alex and restore the fraternity's reputation, no matter the cost. As the protest raged on, the president's eyes locked onto Alex, his gaze filled with a mixture of anger and intimidation. He knew that she was the key to the fraternity's downfall, and he was willing to do whatever it took to stop her. Little did he know, Alex had just begun to unravel the threads of a much larger conspiracy, one that would take her to the very heart of the college's administration. The social media scandal had unleashed a tsunami of outrage and support, but it also marked the beginning of a brutal game of cat and mouse between Alex and the frat house's president. The stakes were high, and the consequences were dire. But Alex was not one to back down from a fight. She had come too far, and she was not about to let the fraternity silence her. As the protest continued to rage on, Alex's phone began to blow up with messages from supporters and allies. The hashtag was trending on social media, and the college's administration was finally taking notice. But Alex knew that the real battle was only just beginning. She had to stay one step ahead of the frat house's president, who was hell-bent on silencing her. The question on everyone's mind was, what would Alex do next? Would she continue to fight for justice, or would she back down in the face of intimidation? The answer, much like the fate of the Sigma Pi fraternity, hung precariously in the balance. As the sun began to set on the college campus, the protesters began to disperse, but Alex remained steadfast, her eyes fixed on the frat house. She knew that she had the power to bring down the fraternity, but she also knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty. The social media scandal had ignited a fire that would not be extinguished easily, and Alex was ready to fan the flames. But little did she know, the frat house's president had a few tricks up his sleeve. He had been watching Alex's every move, and he was not about to let her get the best of him. The battle for justice was only just beginning, and Alex was about to find herself in the midst of a fight for her life. As the darkness closed in around her, Alex steeled herself for the challenges ahead. She knew that she had the support of the campus community, but she also knew that the frat house's president would stop at nothing to silence her. The question was, would she be able to outrun the danger that was closing in around her? As Alex dug deeper into the Sigma Pi fraternity's world, she began to feel the weight of their resistance. The frat house was not one to take threats lying down, and they would stop at nothing to discredit Alex and intimidate her into silence. They knew that if she kept pushing, she could expose the dark underbelly of their organization and bring them crashing down. The frat house's efforts to discredit Alex started with a campaign of misinformation on social media. They began to spread rumors about her, painting her as a jealous, attention-seeking student who was trying to sabotage the fraternity's reputation. They even went so far as to create fake profiles on campus forums and message boards, posting inflammatory comments and messages that seemed to come from Alex herself. But Alex was no stranger to the world of online reputation management. She had a team of allies who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to debunk the frat house's claims and set the record straight. And yet, despite their best efforts, the frat house's attacks seemed to be taking their toll. Alex was starting to feel the pressure, and it was beginning to show in her grades and her relationships with her friends. That's when she met Emma, a campus journalist who was known for her fearless reporting and her commitment to uncovering the truth. Emma had been tracking the Sigma Pi fraternity for months, gathering evidence of their discriminatory practices and their systemic abuse of power. And when she heard about Alex's investigation, she knew she had to get involved. Emma was a force to be reckoned with, and she quickly became Alex's go-to source for information and guidance. Together, they pored over documents and interviewed witnesses, gathering evidence that would finally bring the frat house to its knees. And as they dug deeper, they began to uncover some shocking secrets, including a pattern of hazing and abuse that went all the way to the top of the frat house's leadership. But just as they were getting close to the truth, Alex received a mysterious threat that made her realize the stakes were higher than she ever could have imagined. The message was simple and chilling: back off, Alex, or you'll suffer the consequences. It wasn't signed, but it was clear that the frat house was behind it. And as Alex looked around her, she realized that she was being watched, constantly. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was in danger, that the frat house would stop at nothing to silence her. And then, just as she was starting to feel like she was all alone, Alex received a call from an unknown number. It was a voice she didn't recognize, but it was a voice that sent a shiver down her spine. "Alex, be careful," the voice said. "They're not just threatening you. They're watching your family too." Alex's heart skipped a beat as she thought about her sister, who was still recovering from the trauma she had suffered at the frat house's hands. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, the call ended. Alex was left with more questions than answers, and a growing sense of unease that would haunt her for days to come. As she looked around her, Alex realized that she was in this alone. The frat house had declared war on her, and she was the only one who could stop them. But with the help of Emma and her allies, she was determined to see it through, no matter what the cost. The question was, how far would she have to go to bring the frat house down, and what would she have to sacrifice in the process? The truth, as always, was waiting just out of reach, and Alex was ready to do whatever it took to uncover it. In the shadows, the frat house was watching, waiting for Alex to make her next move. They knew that she was getting close, and they would stop at nothing to silence her. But Alex was not one to back down from a fight. She had a mission, and she was determined to see it through to the end, no matter what the cost. The battle for truth had begun, and Alex was ready to take on the frat house, head-on. As the days turned into weeks, Alex's investigation continued to gain momentum. With Emma's help, she was uncovering more and more evidence of the frat house's wrongdoing, and she was starting to build a case that would bring them crashing down. But just as they were getting close to the truth, Alex received another mysterious threat, this one even more chilling than the last. "You're playing with fire, Alex," the message read. "And you're going to get burned." Alex was starting to feel the pressure, and it was taking a toll on her mental and emotional health. She was constantly looking over her shoulder, wondering when the frat house would strike next. But despite the danger, she refused to back down. She knew that she was fighting for something bigger than herself, something that would make a difference for generations to come. And with Emma by her side, she was ready to take on the frat house, no matter what the cost. As the stakes continued to rise, Alex knew that she had to be careful. The frat house was a powerful enemy, and they would stop at nothing to silence her. But she was not afraid. She knew that she had the truth on her side, and she was determined to see it through to the end. The battle for truth had begun, and Alex was ready to take on the frat house, head-on. But just as she was starting to gain momentum, Alex received a shocking revelation that would change everything. It was a message from an anonymous source, one that revealed a dark secret about the frat house that would shake Alex to her core. "The frat house is not what you think it is," the message read. "It's a front for something much bigger, something that goes all the way to the top of the college administration." Alex was stunned. She had suspected that the frat house was involved in some shady dealings, but she had no idea that it went this far. She was starting to feel like she was in way over her head, but she refused to back down. She knew that she had to see this through, no matter what the cost. The question was, what lay ahead, and how far would she have to go to uncover the truth? The battle for truth was far from over, and Alex was ready to take on whatever came next. The frat house was not just a group of privileged college students who thought they were above the law. They were a symptom of a larger problem, a problem that went all the way to the top of the college administration. And Alex was determined to expose it, no matter what the cost. She had a mission, and she was ready to see it through to the end. But as she looked around her, she realized that she was not alone. There were others out there who were fighting for the same cause, and together, they could bring about real change. The question was, how far would they have to go to achieve their goal? Would they have to take down the entire college administration, or could they find a way to work within the system to bring about reform? The answer, as always, was waiting just out of reach, and Alex was ready to do whatever it took to uncover it. The battle for truth had begun, and Alex was ready to take on whatever came next. As she looked around her, Alex realized that she was part of something bigger than herself. She was part of a movement that was determined to bring about change and expose the truth. And with Emma by her side, she was ready to take on whatever came next. The question was, what lay ahead, and how far would they have to go to achieve their goal? The answer, as always, was waiting just out of reach, and Alex was ready to do whatever it took to uncover it. The frat house was not just a group of privileged college students who thought they were above the law. They were a symptom of a larger problem, a problem that went all the way to the top of the college administration. And Alex was determined to expose it, no matter what the cost. She had a mission, and she was ready to see it through to the end. But as she looked around her, she realized that she was not alone. There were others out there who were fighting for the same cause, and together, they could bring about real change. The question was, how far would they have to go to achieve their goal? Would they have to take down the entire college administration, or could they find a way to work within the system to bring about reform? The answer, as always, was waiting just out of reach, and Alex was ready to do whatever it took to uncover it. The battle for truth had begun, and Alex was ready to take on whatever came next. As the stakes continued to rise, Alex knew that she had to be careful. The frat house was a powerful enemy, and they would stop at nothing to silence her. But she was not afraid. She knew that she had the truth on her side, and she was determined to see it through to the end. The battle for truth had begun, and Alex was ready to take on the frat house, head-on. But just as she was starting to gain momentum, Alex received a shocking revelation that would change everything. It was a message from an anonymous source, one that revealed a dark secret about the frat house that would shake Alex to her core. "The frat house is not what you think it is," the message read. "It's a front for something much bigger, something that goes all the way to the top of the college administration." Alex was stunned. She had suspected that the frat house was involved in some shady dealings, but she had no idea that it went this far. She was starting to feel like she was in way over her head, but she refused to back down. She knew that she had to see this through, no matter what the cost. The question was, what lay ahead, and how far would she have to go to uncover the truth? The battle for truth was far from over, and Alex was ready to take on whatever came next. The frat house was not just a group of privileged college students who thought they were above the law. They were a symptom of a larger problem, a problem that went all the way to the top of the college administration. And Alex was determined to expose it, no matter what the cost. She had a mission, and she was ready to see it through to the end. But as she looked around her, she realized that she was not alone. There were others out there who were fighting for the same cause, and together, they could bring about real change. The question was, how far would they have to go to achieve their goal? Would they have to take down the entire college administration, or could they find a way to work within the system to bring about reform? The answer, as always, was waiting just out of reach, and Alex was ready to do whatever it took to uncover it. The battle for truth had begun, and Alex was ready to take on whatever came next. The stakes were higher than ever before, and Alex knew that she had to be careful. The frat house was a powerful enemy, and they would stop at nothing to silence her. But she was not afraid. She knew that she had the truth on her side, and she was determined to see it through to the end. The battle for truth had begun, and Alex was ready to take on the frat house, head-on. The investigation deepens as Alex continued to dig deeper into the Sigma Pi fraternity's world. She began to uncover a web of deceit and corruption that went far beyond what she had initially imagined. The more she learned, the more she realized that these frat brothers were not just a bunch of privileged college kids, but a well-organized machine that had infiltrated the very fabric of the college campus. She had been collecting evidence for weeks, sifting through documents, and interviewing students who had witnessed the frat house's wrongdoing. And then, one day, something big landed in her inbox, a shocking video recording that had been secretly shot by one of the frat house's own members. It was a grainy, shaky video, but the sounds and images were unmistakable. In the video, a group of Sigma Pi brothers could be seen harassing and intimidating a freshman student, pushing him to drink more and more until he passed out. The brothers were laughing and cheering, completely disregarding the student's well-being. Alex knew she had struck gold. This video was the smoking gun she needed to take down the frat house once and for all. But Alex wasn't the only one who had seen the video. Campus Administrator, Dr. Thompson, had also been made aware of it, and she was torn between supporting Alex and protecting the frat house. Dr. Thompson had always been a bit of a moderate, trying to balance the needs of the students with the needs of the college administration. But as she watched the video, she couldn't help but feel a sense of outrage and disgust. She knew that if she came down too hard on the frat house, it would cause a stir and potentially damage the college's reputation. But if she did nothing, she would be complicit in their wrongdoing. Dr. Thompson was stuck between a rock and a hard place, unsure of what to do next. Meanwhile, Alex was getting closer to the truth. She had discovered that the Sigma Pi fraternity was being backed by a mysterious organization that was known for its influence on college campuses. The organization, known as the Sigma Foundation, had a reputation for promoting a toxic brand of masculinity that emphasized dominance and aggression. But what really caught Alex's attention was the revelation that the Sigma Foundation was actually a front for a wealthy and influential businessman who had made his fortune in the tech industry. He had a reputation for being ruthless in his dealings, and Alex couldn't help but wonder if he was using his wealth and influence to promote his own brand of masculinity on college campuses. As she dug deeper, Alex began to realize that the Sigma Pi fraternity was just the tip of the iceberg. There were other frat houses and organizations on campus that were also being backed by the Sigma Foundation, and Alex knew that she had to expose them all if she wanted to create real change. But the closer she got to the truth, the more resistance she faced. The frat house was not going to go down without a fight, and Alex knew that she was in for the battle of her life. She was determined to see it through, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was in over her head. Dr. Thompson, on the other hand, was facing her own set of challenges. She knew that she had to make a decision, and she knew that it would have far-reaching consequences. If she supported Alex, she would be going up against the frat house and potentially damaging the college's reputation. But if she did nothing, she would be complicit in their wrongdoing. As she weighed her options, Dr. Thompson couldn't help but think about the freshman student who had been harassed in the video. He had been a quiet and reserved kid, just trying to fit in on campus. But the frat house had seen him as a threat, and they had taken it upon themselves to teach him a lesson. Dr. Thompson knew that she had to do something, but she didn't know what. She was torn between her duty to the college and her duty to the students. And as she stood there, frozen in indecision, Alex was getting closer to the truth. She was about to uncover a secret that would change everything. The question was, would she be able to handle it? As Alex continued to expose the dark underbelly of the Sigma Pi fraternity, she found herself facing increasing pressure from all sides. The frat house was not taking her investigations lying down, and their supporters were growing more aggressive by the day. It was as if they thought that by intimidating her, they could silence her and prevent her from revealing the truth. But Alex was not one to back down from a challenge. She had a fire burning inside her, a determination to see justice served and to protect her fellow students from the fraternity's toxic influence. And as she walked across campus, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and purpose. She was not just fighting for herself, she was fighting for every woman who had ever been harassed or marginalized by the fraternity. But Alex was not alone in her fight. She had a friend, a classmate named Sarah, who was struggling with her own loyalty to Alex and her fear of the frat house. Sarah had always been a bit of a people pleaser, and the pressure from her friends to stay away from Alex was starting to take its toll. She knew that Alex was in the right, but she also knew that the frat house was not to be trifled with. "I don't know, Alex," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want to get caught in the crossfire. I have a lot to lose if I get involved with this." Alex looked at her, her eyes filled with a deep understanding. "I get it, Sarah," she said. "But this is bigger than us. This is about creating a safe and respectful community for everyone on campus. And I need your help to make that happen." Sarah hesitated, torn between her loyalty to Alex and her fear of the frat house. But as she looked into Alex's eyes, she saw something there that gave her the courage to make a decision. She saw a deep conviction, a sense of purpose that was unwavering and unshakable. And in that moment, Sarah knew that she had to stand with Alex. She knew that she had to support her, no matter what the cost. Because when it came down to it, this was not just about the fraternity or Alex's investigations, it was about the kind of community they wanted to create. The next day, Alex and Sarah huddled together in the student union, poring over evidence and planning their next move. They knew that the frat house was watching them, waiting for them to make a mistake so they could pounce. But Alex was not one to back down from a challenge, and Sarah was determined to stand by her side. As they worked, the camera crew from the college newspaper set up shop nearby, capturing the whole scene on camera. The frat house was getting increasingly agitated, knowing that their secrets were about to be exposed to the world. And then, just as Alex and Sarah were about to leave the student union, the frat house's president, Tyler, appeared out of nowhere. He was towering over Alex, his face twisted with anger and resentment. "You're not going to take us down, Alex," he sneered. "We're Sigma Pi, and we always come out on top." Alex stood her ground, her eyes flashing with determination. "I'm not afraid of you, Tyler," she said. "I'm not afraid of your frat house or your supporters. I'm fighting for what's right, and I won't back down." The tension between them was palpable, the air thick with anticipation. And as the camera crew captured every moment, it was clear that this was just the beginning of the end for the Sigma Pi fraternity. The pressure was mounting, and Alex was ready to take on whatever came next. But little did she know, the frat house had one last trick up their sleeve. A trick that would change everything, and make Alex's fight even more challenging than she could have ever imagined. As the days went by, Alex's investigation into the Sigma Pi fraternity's world gained momentum, and so did her support from the campus community. The more she exposed, the more people began to take notice. They saw the hypocrisy, the entitlement, and the blatant disregard for the well-being of others. And they started to take action. A student-led petition began circulating, calling for the frat house to be held accountable for their actions. It was a grassroots movement, driven by a desire to create a safer, more inclusive community. The petition quickly gained thousands of signatures, and its message resonated with students from all walks of life. But Alex wasn't the only one making waves on campus. A campus leader, Emma, had been quietly working behind the scenes to reform the frat house culture. Emma was a junior, and she had seen firsthand the damage that Sigma Pi's toxic environment was causing. She had tried to speak out before, but her efforts had been met with resistance and ridicule. This time, however, she was determined to make a difference. Emma was a natural leader, with a quick wit and a sharp tongue. She had a way of cutting through the noise and getting to the heart of the matter. And she was not afraid to take risks. As she began to build support for her cause, she realized that she needed someone with Alex's skills and determination to help her take on the frat house. She reached out to Alex, and the two of them began to work together, pooling their resources and expertise to create a plan of action. Meanwhile, the frat house was beginning to feel the heat. Their supporters were growing more aggressive by the day, and it was clear that they would stop at nothing to silence Alex and her allies. But Alex was not intimidated. She had a secret ally, someone who had been working behind the scenes to help her take down the frat house. And this ally was about to reveal themselves in a way that would leave everyone stunned. As the days turned into weeks, the tension on campus continued to build. The petition had gained tens of thousands of signatures, and the movement was gaining momentum. Emma's efforts to reform the frat house culture were starting to bear fruit, and Alex's investigation was uncovering more and more evidence of the frat house's wrongdoing. But just when it seemed like the tide was turning in their favor, a shocking revelation came to light. Alex's secret ally was none other than her own sister, who had been working undercover within the frat house to gather evidence of their wrongdoings. The sister, who had been keeping her involvement a secret from Alex, had been feeding her information and helping her to stay one step ahead of the frat house. The news sent shockwaves through the campus community. People were stunned by the revelation, and they couldn't believe that Alex's own sister had been working behind the scenes to help her take down the frat house. It was a game changer, and it raised the stakes in a big way. The frat house was going to stop at nothing to silence Alex and her allies, and it was clear that the fight was far from over. As the drama unfolded, Emma stepped forward to deliver a powerful message to the campus community. She stood on the steps of the student union, surrounded by hundreds of students who had come to show their support for the cause. And with a fierce determination in her eyes, she spoke out against the frat house, calling for them to be held accountable for their actions. "We will not be silenced," Emma declared. "We will not be intimidated. We will stand up for what is right, and we will fight for a campus community that is safe, inclusive, and just for all." The time for change is now, and we will not be deterred. The crowd erupted in cheers, and the message was clear: the campus community was rising up, and they were not going to back down. The frat house may have thought they had the upper hand, but they were about to find out that they were in for a fight. As the crowd dispersed, Alex and her allies knew that they had a long road ahead of them. But they were ready for the challenge. They were determined to take down the frat house, and they were not going to rest until justice was served. The battle was far from over, but one thing was clear: the tide was turning, and the campus community was finally rising up to demand change. As Alex continued to dig deeper into the dark underbelly of the Sigma Pi fraternity, she could sense the frat house's desperation growing by the day. Their attempts to discredit her had been relentless, but she refused to back down. In a last-ditch effort to silence her, the frat house decided to take a more aggressive approach. They began to spread rumors about Alex, painting her as a troublemaker and a threat to the college community. But Alex wasn't the only one who had taken notice of the frat house's tactics. A local lawyer, Rachel Jenkins, had been watching the situation unfold with growing interest. She had a reputation for being one of the toughest lawyers in town, and her services were frequently sought out by institutions and individuals looking to take on the powerful and the corrupt. Rachel's involvement in the case marked a turning point in the frat house's attempts to discredit Alex. She was a seasoned professional, with years of experience handling high-stakes cases and navigating the complexities of the law. But what made Rachel different was her personal connection to the Sigma Pi fraternity. Her younger brother had been a member of the fraternity, and she had seen firsthand the kind of harm that their reckless behavior could cause. Rachel's decision to take on the case was motivated by more than just a desire to win. She genuinely believed that the Sigma Pi fraternity was a menace to society, and she was determined to hold them accountable for their actions. But as she delved deeper into the case, she began to realize that things were more complicated than she had initially thought. One of the most pressing concerns was the frat house's use of intimidation and coercion to silence Alex and other students who dared to speak out against them. Rachel had seen it before: the veiled threats, the aggressive behavior, and the outright lies. But what made this case stand out was the level of sophistication and organization that the frat house had brought to the table. It was as if they had a well-oiled machine working behind the scenes, with a network of operatives and sympathizers who were willing to do whatever it took to protect the frat house's reputation. Rachel knew that she was in for the fight of her life, but she was determined to see it through. As she prepared to take on the frat house in court, Rachel couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. She had seen the kind of damage that these people were capable of inflicting, and she knew that she was taking a risk by taking on the case. But she also knew that she had to do what was right, no matter the cost. And then, just as Rachel was about to file her lawsuit, she received a shocking revelation that would change everything. It turned out that the Sigma Pi fraternity had been hiding a dark secret, a secret that could potentially bring the entire frat house crashing down. The revelation was nothing short of explosive, and it sent shockwaves through the college community. Alex, who had been following the case closely, was stunned by the news. She had suspected that the frat house was hiding something, but she had no idea what. As the news spread like wildfire, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication. All her hard work, all her research, and all her determination had finally paid off. She had taken down the frat house, and she had brought them to their knees. But as she looked on, she knew that this was just the beginning. The Sigma Pi fraternity was far from defeated, and they would stop at nothing to silence her and discredit her allegations. Alex knew that she had to stay vigilant, to keep pushing forward, and to never give up. The question on everyone's mind was, what would happen next? Would the frat house finally face justice, or would they find a way to wriggle out of it? The answer, it seemed, would have to wait until the next chapter of this epic story unfolded. The fate of the Sigma Pi fraternity, and the future of Alex and Rachel's investigation, hung precariously in the balance. One thing was certain, however: the battle for truth and justice was far from over. As the campus community rallied behind Alex, the pressure on the Sigma Pi fraternity continued to build. It was only a matter of time before the truth came out, and when it did, it would shatter the very foundations of the frat house's toxic culture. Alex's investigation had been gaining momentum for weeks, and she had finally uncovered the smoking gun that would bring the frat house to its knees. It was a shocking revelation that exposed the fraternity's darkest secrets and brought justice to Alex's sister, who had been a victim of their abuse. The frat house's attempts to discredit Alex had been relentless, but she had refused to back down. And now, with the truth finally out, she was ready to take her rightful place as a champion of the campus community. But Alex wasn't the only one who had played a crucial role in bringing down the Sigma Pi fraternity. There was someone else, a key player who had been secretly working behind the scenes to take down the frat house. His name was Dr. Rodriguez, a campus administrator who had been watching the situation unfold with growing concern. Dr. Rodriguez was a man in his late 40s, with a kind face and a sharp mind. He had been a professor on campus for over a decade and had seen his fair share of controversy. But nothing had ever prepared him for the sheer scale of the Sigma Pi fraternity's wrongdoing. As Alex continued to dig deeper into the frat house's secrets, Dr. Rodriguez had been quietly gathering evidence, working with other administrators to build a case against the fraternity. It was a delicate balancing act, as the frat house had a reputation for using its influence to silence critics. But Dr. Rodriguez was not one to back down from a challenge. He had a reputation for being fiercely independent and had a proven track record of standing up for what he believed in. And what he believed in was justice. With the evidence in hand, Dr. Rodriguez had finally found the courage to take action. He had scheduled a meeting with the university's president, and Alex had been invited to join him. It was a moment of truth, one that would determine the fate of the Sigma Pi fraternity once and for all. As the two of them sat down in the president's office, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and trepidation. She knew that this was it, the moment of truth that would change everything. Dr. Rodriguez, I have to ask, the president said, his voice firm but measured. What makes you think you have enough evidence to take down the Sigma Pi fraternity? Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward, his eyes locked on the president. We have video evidence of the fraternity's members engaging in hazing rituals. We have testimony from multiple witnesses, including Alex's sister. And we have documents that show a clear pattern of abuse and harassment. The president nodded, his expression grim. I see. And what do you propose we do with this information? Dr. Rodriguez smiled, a sense of satisfaction etched on his face. I think it's time we took action. I propose that we revoke the Sigma Pi fraternity's charter and ban its members from campus for a minimum of 2 years. The room fell silent, the only sound the quiet rustling of papers. Alex felt a sense of vindication wash over her, knowing that justice was finally within reach. And then, in a moment that would be remembered for years to come, the president nodded in agreement. I think that's a fair proposal, Dr. Rodriguez. Let's do it. The room erupted into a flurry of activity, as the president and Dr. Rodriguez began making phone calls and sending emails. Alex sat back, a sense of relief washing over her. It was finally over, the Sigma Pi fraternity had been brought to justice. But as she looked around the room, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. So many lives had been ruined by the frat house's toxic culture, and it would take time for the campus community to heal. Still, Alex knew that this was just the beginning. She had played a crucial role in bringing down the Sigma Pi fraternity, and she was ready to keep fighting for justice. The truth had finally come out, and it was only a matter of time before the campus community began to heal. As the dust settled on the Sigma Pi fraternity's downfall, the campus community began to breathe a collective sigh of relief. The toxic culture that had festered for so long was finally being dismantled, and with it, the sense of fear and intimidation that had gripped so many students. For Alex, this was a moment of vindication, a testament to the power of speaking out against injustice. But as she walked across campus, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The aftermath of the frat house's downfall would be a long and difficult process, one that would require patience, perseverance, and a commitment to creating a safer, more inclusive environment for all students. And as she thought about the road ahead, she couldn't help but think about the friends she had made along the way, the ones who had stood by her side even when it seemed like the entire world was against them. One person in particular came to mind, her friend, Rachel. Rachel had been a member of the campus community for years, and she had always been vocal about her disdain for the frat house's toxic culture. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, Rachel had found herself struggling to come to terms with the aftermath. She had been a close friend of one of the frat house's members, and the thought of what he had done, of how he had hurt so many people, was still hard for her to process. I remember talking to Rachel on the phone one day, trying to offer her some words of comfort. "It's okay to feel overwhelmed," I said. "It's okay to feel angry, or sad, or even guilty." But as we talked, I realized that Rachel was struggling with something deeper. She was struggling with the question of how she had missed it, how she had failed to see the harm that the frat house was causing. And as I listened to her, I couldn't help but think about the same question, the same guilt that had been eating away at me for weeks. Because the truth is, we all missed it. We all thought that the frat house was just a bunch of guys having fun, that they were harmless. But as we look back, it's clear that we were wrong. We were wrong to think that they were just a bunch of guys, that they were harmless. We were wrong to think that they were just a bunch of guys who liked to party, who liked to drink and have a good time. Because the truth is, they were something much more insidious. They were a group of guys who believed that they were above the law, who believed that they could do whatever they wanted and get away with it. And as I think about it now, I realize that this is a question that we all have to grapple with. How do we prevent this from happening again? How do we create a campus community that is truly inclusive, truly safe, and truly just? It's a question that I don't have the answer to, but I do know that it's a question that we all have to ask ourselves. Because the truth is, this isn't just about the Sigma Pi fraternity. This isn't just about a group of guys who thought they were above the law. This is about a culture that allows people to believe that they can do whatever they want, that they can harm others and get away with it. And it's about the power of speaking out against that culture, of standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. As I look around campus, I see a community that is still healing, still trying to come to terms with what happened. I see students who are struggling to find their place, who are struggling to make sense of it all. And I see faculty and staff who are trying to create a safer, more inclusive environment, who are trying to make sure that this never happens again. But even as I see all of this, I also see something else. I see a community that is resilient, that is strong and determined. I see a community that is standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. And I see a community that is beginning to realize that speaking out against injustice is not just a moral imperative, but a necessity. Because the truth is, silence is not an option. Silence is not a choice when you know that something is wrong, when you know that someone is being harmed. Silence is not a choice when you have the power to speak out, to stand up for what's right. And as I think about it now, I realize that this is a lesson that we all have to learn. We have to learn that speaking out against injustice is not just a moral imperative, but a necessity. We have to learn that silence is not an option, that speaking out is the only way to create real change. And as I look around campus, I see a community that is beginning to learn this lesson. I see students who are standing up for what's right, who are speaking out against injustice. And I see faculty and staff who are supporting them, who are helping them to create a safer, more inclusive environment. Because the truth is, this is a journey that we're all on together. This is a journey that requires patience, perseverance, and a commitment to creating a better world. And as I look around campus, I see a community that is on that journey, that is working together to create a safer, more inclusive environment. And as I think about it now, I realize that this is a message that we all have to share. We have to share the message that speaking out against injustice is not just a moral imperative, but a necessity. We have to share the message that silence is not an option, that speaking out is the only way to create real change. And we have to share the message that we are all in this together, that we are all on this journey to create a better world. Because the truth is, this is a journey that we're all on together. This is a journey that requires patience, perseverance, and a commitment to creating a better world. And as I look around campus, I see a community that is on that journey, that is working together to create a safer, more inclusive environment. And as I look back on the Sigma Pi fraternity's downfall, I realize that this is a moment of hope. This is a moment of hope that we can create a better world, that we can create a world that is truly inclusive, truly safe, and truly just. And as I look around campus, I see a community that is working towards that goal, that is working towards creating a better world. And as I think about it now, I realize that this is a message that we all have to share. We have to share the message that we are all in this together, that we are all on this journey to create a better world. And we have to share the message that speaking out against injustice is not just a moral imperative, but a necessity. Because the truth is, this is a journey that we're all on together. This is a journey that requires patience, perseverance, and a commitment to creating a better world. As the dust settled on the Sigma Pi fraternity's downfall, the campus community began to reflect on the profound impact of Alex's story. The once-feared frat house, notorious for its toxic culture and sense of entitlement, was now a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked privilege and power. Alex's courage in speaking out against the system had sparked a chain reaction of accountability and change, echoing far beyond the university's borders. The reverberations of Alex's story were felt in every corner of the campus, from the dorms to the dining halls, and even in the hearts of students who had never set foot on the university's grounds. It was a testament to the power of one person's voice, amplified by the collective action of a community determined to create a safer, more just environment for all. One young woman, Emma, was particularly inspired by Alex's story. A freshman at the time, Emma had always felt a sense of discomfort around the Sigma Pi frat house, sensing the air of exclusivity and condescension that hung around it like a cloud. But Alex's bravery had given her the courage to speak out, to question the status quo, and to demand better from her peers and her community. Emma's own experiences with sexism and harassment on campus had been a struggle, and she knew firsthand the weight of feeling silenced, marginalized, and dismissed. But Alex's story had shown her that there was power in speaking out, that even the smallest voice could be amplified and become a beacon of hope for others. As Emma shared her own story with a group of friends, she realized that she was not alone. There were others, like her, who had been quietly suffering in silence, afraid to speak out against the injustices they faced. But Alex's courage had given them permission to share their own experiences, to join a chorus of voices demanding change. The ripple effect of Alex's story was spreading far and wide, from the university to the wider community, and even to the national stage. Media outlets were covering the story, highlighting the bravery and determination of Alex and her allies. The hashtag had become a rallying cry for students and activists across the country, a symbol of the power of collective action and the importance of standing up against injustice. As the world watched, Alex's story served as a powerful reminder that one person's voice can spark a revolution. It was a message of hope and resilience, a testament to the human spirit's capacity to overcome even the most daunting obstacles. And as the campus community looked to the future, they knew that they would carry Alex's legacy with them, a beacon of courage and determination that would guide them through the darkest of times. The aftermath of Alex's story was marked by a renewed sense of purpose and commitment to creating a safer, more just environment for all. Students were organizing workshops and training sessions on consent, privilege, and bystander intervention. The university administration was working to implement new policies and procedures to prevent future incidents of harassment and assault. But as the campus community continued to heal and rebuild, there was still much work to be done. The legacy of Alex's story served as a reminder that the fight for justice and equality was never truly won, that there would always be new battles to fight, new injustices to confront. And as Emma and her friends continued to speak out against sexism and harassment, they knew that they were part of a larger movement, a movement that would not rest until every student felt safe, respected, and valued. The question now was, what would you do if you were in Alex's shoes? Would you speak out against injustice, even if it meant risking your own reputation and well-being? Would you join the chorus of voices demanding change, or would you stand on the sidelines, watching as others fought for what's right? The choice is yours, and it's a choice that will be made by each and every one of you, in your own way, in your own time. But one thing is certain, the legacy of Alex's story will continue to inspire and motivate, a reminder that even the smallest voice can make a big difference when it's amplified by the collective action of a community determined to create a better world. As the campus community looks to the future, they know that they will carry Alex's legacy with them, a beacon of courage and determination that will guide them through the darkest of times. And as they continue to work towards a safer, more just environment for all, they will remember the power of one person's voice, amplified by the collective action of a community determined to create a better world. As the campus community began to heal from the wounds inflicted by the Sigma Pi fraternity's toxic culture, a new movement was taking shape. It was a movement built on the power of collective action, where students came together to demand change and create a safer, more inclusive environment for everyone. At the heart of this movement was a young woman named Maya, a community leader who had spent years advocating for social justice and human rights. Maya's passion and dedication were inspiring countless students to join the fight, and her message of hope and resilience was resonating across campus. As I spoke with Maya, I was struck by her conviction and her unwavering commitment to creating a better world. "We're not just fighting against the fraternity's toxic culture," she explained, her voice filled with emotion. "We're fighting for a culture that values empathy, compassion, and respect. We're fighting for a world where every student feels seen, heard, and valued." Maya's words were powerful, but it was her actions that truly spoke volumes. She had spent countless hours organizing rallies, protests, and awareness campaigns, using social media to amplify the voices of marginalized students and create a sense of solidarity across campus. And then, one day, something remarkable happened. A video of Maya speaking out against the fraternity's toxic culture went viral on social media, reaching millions of people worldwide. The response was overwhelming, with students from across the country reaching out to offer their support and solidarity. As I watched Maya's face light up with excitement, I realized that this was more than just a moment, it was a turning point. It was a moment when the power of collective action became clear, when the voices of marginalized students were amplified, and when the campus community came together to demand change. But what I didn't expect was the surprising revelation that followed. As Maya's video continued to spread, I noticed something remarkable happening. The fraternity's alumni, who had once been so quick to defend their toxic culture, were now reaching out to Maya, apologizing for their actions and expressing a desire to make amends. It was a stunning moment of redemption, one that spoke to the power of social media in sparking change. In an era where online activism can often be dismissed as mere clicktivism, Maya's story showed us that even the smallest actions can have a profound impact when they're amplified and mobilized by a collective movement. As I looked at Maya, I saw a young woman who was not just fighting for change, she was creating it. And as I watched her continue to speak out against injustice, I knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in the campus community's journey towards a more just and equitable world. The power of collective action is a force to be reckoned with, and Maya's story is a testament to its transformative power. By coming together to demand change, we can create a world that's more just, more compassionate, and more inclusive for everyone. But what happens when the movement is over, and the dust has settled? What happens when the cameras are gone, and the activists have gone home? As I thought about these questions, I realized that Maya's story was not just about the movement itself, but about the legacy it would leave behind. As the campus community continued to grapple with the aftermath of the fraternity's downfall, Maya's message of hope and resilience continued to inspire. She became a beacon of light, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always a way forward. And as I looked at Maya, I knew that her story was far from over. It was just beginning, a new chapter in a journey that would take her to the forefront of social justice activism. But for now, she was content to bask in the glow of her viral video, knowing that she had created something truly remarkable, a movement that would change the campus community forever. As I spoke with Maya, I was struck by the sense of possibility that hung in the air. It was a sense of possibility that was not just confined to the campus, but to the world at large. For in Maya's story, I saw a glimmer of hope, a hope that even the smallest actions can have a profound impact when they're amplified and mobilized by a collective movement. And as I watched Maya's face light up with excitement, I knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in the campus community's journey towards a more just and equitable world. The power of collective action is a force to be reckoned with, and Maya's story is a testament to its transformative power. But what happens when the movement is over, and the dust has settled? What happens when the cameras are gone, and the activists have gone home? As I thought about these questions, I realized that Maya's story was not just about the movement itself, but about the legacy it would leave behind. As the campus community continued to grapple with the aftermath of the fraternity's downfall, Maya's message of hope and resilience continued to inspire. She became a beacon of light, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always a way forward. And as I looked at Maya, I knew that her story was far from over. It was just beginning, a new chapter in a journey that would take her to the forefront of social justice activism. But for now, she was content to bask in the glow of her viral video, knowing that she had created something truly remarkable, a movement that would change the campus community forever. As the dust settled on the Sigma Pi fraternity's downfall, a new reality began to set in for Alex. The college campus, once a place of excitement and possibility, now felt like a minefield of triggers and flashbacks. The adrenaline that had propelled her through the battle to take down the Frat still lingered, but it was starting to wane. The truth was, dealing with trauma and activism wasn't just about winning a fight, it was about surviving the aftermath. And that's exactly what Alex was struggling with now. The constant media attention, the endless meetings with administrators, the pressure to be a hero, it was all taking a toll on her mental health. That's when she met Dr. Patel, a kind-eyed mental health professional who specialized in working with survivors of trauma. Alex had been hesitant at first, but something about Dr. Patel's calm, gentle demeanor put her at ease. The first time they met, Dr. Patel handed Alex a cup of steaming hot tea and asked her to take a deep breath. "You don't have to be strong all the time," she said softly. "In fact, being strong means taking care of yourself, too." Alex felt a lump form in her throat as she listened to Dr. Patel's words. No one had ever told her that before. In her world, being strong meant pushing through pain, ignoring fear, and never showing weakness. But Dr. Patel's words were like a balm to her soul. She finally felt like she could let her guard down. As they began to work together, Alex started to realize just how much she'd been neglecting her own well-being. The anxiety, the insomnia, the constant feeling of being on edge, it was all starting to catch up with her. And yet, she'd been so focused on taking down the Frat that she'd neglected her own self-care. Dr. Patel smiled knowingly as Alex poured out her story. "You're not alone in this," she said. "So many people struggle with mental health issues, especially after experiencing trauma. But here's the thing, you're not defined by your trauma. You're defined by your resilience, your strength, and your ability to heal." Alex felt a surge of hope as she listened to Dr. Patel's words. She realized that she'd been living in a state of constant fight or flight, always on the lookout for the next threat. But what if she didn't have to be like that? What if she could learn to prioritize her own well-being, to take care of herself in the midst of chaos? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. It was scary, but it was also exhilarating. For the first time in months, Alex felt like she had a choice. She could choose to prioritize her own mental health, to take care of herself, and to heal. And that's exactly what she did. With Dr. Patel's guidance, Alex started to explore new ways of coping with her trauma. She began to prioritize self-care, taking time for meditation, yoga, and spending time in nature. She started to rekindle old hobbies, like painting and writing, and even started a new one, photography. As the weeks turned into months, Alex started to feel like herself again. The anxiety still lingered, but it was no longer all-consuming. She started to sleep better, to eat healthier, and to connect with friends and family in a way that felt authentic. And through it all, Dr. Patel was there, guiding her every step of the way. She became more than just a therapist, she became a friend, a confidant, and a reminder that Alex was capable of more than she ever thought possible. As Alex looked back on the journey she'd taken, she realized that taking down the Sigma Pi fraternity had been just the beginning. The real victory was in the healing, in the growth, and in the discovery of her own strength and resilience. And that, she knew, was a lesson she'd carry with her for the rest of her life. The importance of self-care is not just a buzzword or a trend, it's a matter of survival. It's about recognizing that we're not invincible, that we're not superheroes who can just push through pain and trauma without consequences. It's about acknowledging that our mental health matters, and that taking care of ourselves is not a luxury, but a necessity. As you watch Alex's story unfold, remember that you're not alone. We're all struggling, we're all healing, and we're all learning to prioritize our own well-being. So let's take a page out of Alex's book, let's prioritize our own self-care, let's seek out help when we need it, and let's remember that we're stronger than we think. In the next section, we'll be exploring the ripple effects of Alex's story, and how it's impacting the campus community in ways we never could have imagined. But for now, let's take a moment to breathe, to reflect, and to remember that we're all in this together. The future of activism: imagine a world where every individual has a voice, where every voice is heard, and where every voice is valued. A world where collective action and activism come together to create lasting change. A world where Alex's story is just the beginning. As the campus community continues to heal and rebuild, a new generation of activists is emerging, inspired by Alex's courage and determination. Meet Maya, a young and passionate activist who's committed to carrying on Alex's work. Maya's been following Alex's journey from the beginning, and she's been inspired by the way Alex's story has sparked conversations and ignited change on campus. Maya's own story is one of resilience and determination, and she's already making waves in her own community. Maya's a junior majoring in sociology, and she's been actively involved in campus organizations focused on social justice and activism. She's been attending rallies and protests, organizing her own events, and mobilizing her peers to take action. Maya's story is one of hope and optimism, and she's proof that the future of activism is bright. As I look back on Alex's journey, I'm struck by the ways in which her story has inspired change. From the campus protests to the national headlines, Alex's story has been a catalyst for conversation and action. But Alex's story is just the beginning. The future of activism is about more than just one person or one movement. It's about building a movement that's inclusive, diverse, and powerful. Maya's part of a new wave of activists who are committed to carrying on Alex's work. They're young, they're passionate, and they're determined to create a world that's more just and equitable. They're using social media to mobilize their peers, to raise awareness about social justice issues, and to create a sense of community and connection. As I talk to Maya, I'm struck by her energy and her enthusiasm. She's a natural leader, and she's already making a difference in her own community. Maya's story is one of inspiration and hope, and it's proof that the future of activism is bright. But Maya's story is also a reminder that there's still so much work to be done. As we look to the future of activism, we need to remember that the work of Alex and Maya is just the beginning. We need to continue to push for change, to mobilize our peers, and to create a world that's more just and equitable. We need to use our voices, our actions, and our collective power to create a world that's better for everyone. The future of activism is about more than just one person or one movement. It's about building a movement that's inclusive, diverse, and powerful. It's about creating a world that's more just and equitable, where every individual has a voice and is valued. It's about continuing the work of Alex and Maya, and pushing for change that's lasting and meaningful. As we close out this chapter in Alex's story, I want to leave you with a final call to action. What will you do to create positive change in your own community? What will you do to support activists like Alex and Maya? How will you use your voice, your actions, and your collective power to create a world that's more just and equitable? The future of activism is in your hands. Will you join the movement?